Hello guys, this is Trinity Storm and you are watching a movie on what if Naruto became Konoha's One Punch Man. If you enjoy this video, please like, share and subscribe to the channel. Now wasting no more time, let's start the story.
The earth was rocked by a series of explosions, and terrifying screams filled the air. Flames raged across the village as countless shinobi attempted to avert the disaster that had befallen their home. They dashed across the rooftops, attempting to reach the battleground where their comrades required their assistance. Civilians below attempted to flee from an impossibly large reddish beast staring down at them. In the eyes of a predator, they were insects. With terrifying howls and the flicking of its 9 tails, hills crumpled and the ground split apart, unleashing untold devastation. Hidden leaves wreaked havoc on the village, crushing men, women, and children alike. In its wake, no one was spared. Behind the mask that covered the man's face, a condescending sneer formed. He was standing nearby, watching his Sharingan flare and spin. With some amusement, he observed the creature's devastation. The demon beast was obeying his commands after he gained control of its mind using the power of his bloodline. Pathetic, and to think they called themselves the strongest of the hidden village. Destroy it all. Raze the place to the ground, leave no one alive, the masked man said before walking away from his position and out of the area. He didn't want to be discovered until his plan was completed. The beast roared in response to the command and continued on its path of destruction. Kyuubi no Yuko, God Disaster Level. Yes, the Biju was a god of disaster, a threat to humanity. It was the most serious threat level imaginable. It was higher than dragon level disaster, which was higher than demon level disaster. The Kyuubi had a reputation as an age-old natural disaster, appearing out of nowhere and attacking unsuspecting areas that were breeding grounds for the darkest aspects of human nature. The Kyuubi gave an appreciative growl, satisfied with the destruction it had caused to the village. The village's defending forces lay motionless, scattered throughout the ruins, and most were covered in dust and rubbles as countless debris that once separated from the proudly erected buildings filled most of the town's outer area. The demonic slit eyes darted around, looking for anyone who could challenge its power. A voice from below caught its attention. "Stop your destruction!" yelled a bald man, his fist clenched with a scroll in its grip. He was dressed in an overall that resembled a pajama, with a matching cape sewn into both sides of his shoulder. The people would have cheered and welcomed their savior if that was the person they had been waiting for. He did not. Who let the loony one out? Where's the actual reinforcement? Where's the fourth? A shinobi inquired after a brief glimpse of the insane patient. During the commotion, that patient escaped the village asylum and was now standing on top of a pile of rubbles, challenging the fox-like demonic creature with nothing but the clothes on his back. With a few thoughts racing through its mind, Kyuubi glared at the fearless newcomer. "I spent years perfecting this. As an ally of justice, I will stop you with my new powers. I have discovered the secret to..." He couldn't finish as his body imploded, turning into a pool of blood as soon as the fox slammed down its tail. A massive claw on top of the man, flattening the artificial hill the scroll, along with its owner's partial remains shrouded in dusts, was sent flying to the nearby wood with a swing of the same claw to the right. The shinobi watching the execution simply sighed and hoped the idiot died quickly and painlessly. As a yellow flash appeared near them, their hearts were lifted. Their savior had arrived, and it wasn't some lunatic dressed in sleeping gear and pretending to be a hero. Minato Namikaze, the fourth, died heroically in the battle against the Kyuubi on that faithful day. Because the beast was entirely made of chakra, he could not be killed even with his feared combat prowess throughout the elemental nations, so Minato did the next best thing: he sealed it within his newborn son. In honor of his mother's sacrifice, he gave the baby blonde the surname Uzumaki with his dying breath, despite the fact that a true Uzumaki would have crimson hair rather than golden yellow like his. It was also to protect his son after his death from his enemies. Hiruzen Sarutobi, the third, accepted the dying wish of the young man and sealed the record of the baby's birth, declaring that no one would speak of it again under penalty of death. Years passed as the boy everyone avoided grew up to become a cheerful, if mischievous, brat who enjoyed pranking others. It wasn't because he enjoyed causing chaos and headaches for the villagers. It was because he wanted them to notice him. Naruto Uzumaki raised his head to the fourth. Legend surrounded the greatest shinobi of all time. He aspired to be like that person, strong and powerful. To fight epic battles against overwhelming odds and triumph. To have the satisfaction of victory even in the face of death. Unfortunately, Naruto was dead last in everything, and he failed to graduate from the academy yet again. In his disappointment, a chance had finally presented itself. Mizuki-sensei, one of Naruto's instructors, approached him with a secret academy examination. He would be allowed to graduate from the academy if he could steal the scroll of seals from the Hokage residence and learn one of the techniques contained within it. As instructed, Naruto used his own technique called Sexy no Jutsu to knock out the third with a massive nosebleed, and he learned Kage Bunshin from the scroll. Everything, however, was a lie. Mizuki had made him a scapegoat by using him to steal the scroll. Do you remember when the demon fox was sealed 12 years ago? No, don't. Iruka-sensei exclaimed, clutching the painful wounds Mizuki had just given him. Since that incident, a new rule for this village was created, never allowing you to learn the truth. Mizuki sneered at Naruto. A rule? Never let me learn the truth? Naruto inquired, his face flushed with confusion and shock. To never reveal that you're the demon fox. Naruto was rendered speechless by the revelation. He was the one who murdered his most cherished idol, and he was the creature that the villager despised. Countless deaths were his fault. As memories of hateful glares flooded his mind, the blonde boy's hand was visibly shaken. If everything were true, he would never be the hero he desired to be, and they would never recognize him. Naruto, listen to me. Iruka exclaimed from the side, but the blonde can only hear Mizuki's words. Iruka knew what was going on, but he couldn't tell the blonde because of the Hokage's order. You will never be more than you are. Nobody will accept you. Iruka is the same. He actually despises you for what you did to his parents. Mizuki exclaimed as he spun the massive shuriken in his hand and threw it at the boy. Naruto couldn't move. His leg didn't seem to be working as the incoming blade whizzed through the air ominously. A shadow hid his dulled blue eyes, and a body shielded him from the lethal weapon. Iruka-sensei. Naruto muttered, finally seeing the man's bloody face. Listen to me, Naruto. I know I couldn't get past my hatred for the demon fox. It killed my parents, and even now, I hate it, but you are not it. You are you, Naruto Uzumaki. No Namikaze, one of my excellent students. It's painful to hold a grudge, and I admired him too as I learned more about him and the connection you had. Very few people know this, but you are the son of the fourth. The man's eyes lost their luster, and he died as a result of his fatal injury. After all, The shuriken pierced his heart, and he held on long enough to give the blonde boy one last piece of encouragement. "Iruka-sensei!" Naruto exclaimed in despair, clutching the only person in the village who had shown genuine concern for him. Naruto remembered the man's last request and dashed away from the scene as quickly as he could. Mizuki pursued the blonde, throwing several kunai ahead of her. Naruto was faster than anyone his age, having spent years running away from Anbu during his many pranks. It gave him strong legs. A kunai, however, embedded itself into one as he stumbled from the pain and fell forwards. His hand shifted through the grass, attempting to pull himself up, but it came across a small, bloodstained scroll among it. It had to have been here for years. "Time to die," Mizuka said as she walked slowly towards Naruto's downed form, licking the edge of a knife. "I don't want to run, Iruka-sensei. I want to stand and fight. I want to be strong," Naruto exclaimed as he struggled to stand and formed hand seals. He had just learned his most recent technique. Countless Naruto duplicates surrounded him, accompanied by dense white fog. Mizuki's eyes widened as he realized he was surrounded. "This is for Iruka-sensei," roared Naruto as they all engaged in combat with Mizuki. As he examined the scroll in his hand, the true blonde huffed heavily. He pocketed it without much thought while his clones were brutally beating up the murderer of his only friend. The Anbu and Hokage arrived just in time to prevent the clone from further dicing up their victims. Mizuki would live after extensive surgery, but it wouldn't be a happy life even if he wasn't imprisoned. "Why didn't you come sooner? If you had, Iruka-sensei wouldn't be dead." Naruto yelled at the elderly man before kneeling and sobbing. He wanted to be a hero who could save everyone, but he was too weak to save the person who meant the most to him. As the small scroll tilted slightly to the side from the inside of his pocket, Naruto vowed to become stronger that day. Naruto graduated from the academy and reclaimed his inheritance after discovering his ancestors. A private compound on the outskirts of town that had been silent for more than a decade was no longer empty. Its proprietor had returned. As his lineage was revealed, Naruto Uzumaki became known as Naruto Namikaze to many people both inside and outside of the village. Enemies of the Fourth, as well as various factions within the village, would frequently attempt to murder the blonde. Despite this, Naruto survived and learned about the real world in which his father lived. With some breathing room, he finally read the bloody scroll he discovered in the woods. "Do you want to become a legendary and unbeatable hero? Through my life work and research, I discovered that all you have to do is perform 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100 squats, and run 10 kilometers every single day without missing one for as long as you live." Naruto's skepticism filled his face as he read the inscription in the scroll. Despite the fact that he graduated from the academy and was assigned to a team with Uchiha's last descendant and the girl he had a crush on, his new teacher rarely taught them anything. They did nothing but chase that stupid cat around. Naruto was much more open-minded because he wanted to become stronger and lacked a proper teacher to teach him. Naruto shrugged and began training as the scroll instructed, doing 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100 squats, and running 10 kilometers around the Namikaze's compound. The first day was more difficult than he had anticipated. On the second day, he felt he was getting stronger and completing the required task more quickly. "If only I could speed things up," Naruto reflected on the third time. Day and produced tens of thousands of clones. They all did the same thing for a week. Thousands of them were running around the area, which would equate to decades of training, or possibly a century, depending on how many clones there were. Naruto noticed that his body had become more muscular and that his jawline had filled out. His baby fat had completely disappeared, and the most noticeable feature was that his blonde hair had red strands in it. Naruto continued his training, motivated by Iruka's final words and a desire to become a hero who was recognized and loved by all. Another week passed before he realized his hair was completely red. There was no longer any blonde in them. "You looked a lot like an Uzumaki now, Naruto," the Hokage observed through the crystal glass ball whenever Naruto left his house on errands. Something must have happened to the child, but the Hokage had no idea what because he couldn't see inside the compound. A seal was in place to prevent this from happening. "There he is. Kill him!" yelled one of Naruto's father's former enemies, who had returned to hunt him down. 3 of them were successful. The bodyguards appeared to have given up on him that day, allowing his would-be murderer to slip through the perimeter. Naruto felt fear for a split second as adrenaline kicked in, but his opponents appeared strangely slow in his blue eyes. Without further ado, and eager to test his strength, Naruto leapt forward and landed a punch on a nearby target. To his surprise, the man exploded in chunks of bloody pulps as soon as his fist made contact with flesh. "What the fuck was that?" exclaimed the other 2 as they witnessed their leader's gruesome death. They turned to look at the red-haired kid, who was admiring his fist. It had no effect on him. Naruto didn't even feel any repercussions from the strike. One of the assassins took advantage of the opportunity and shunshined to the child's behind. Naruto, startled, elbowed the man in the front. Before the rest of his body joined, the man's innards escaped through the back of his body, forming a bloody and chunky pool of horror. "You got to be shitting me!" exclaimed the final one, seeing how a kid had just killed 2 of his comrades as if they were just children fighting a monster. "Wow. Awesome!" Naruto exclaimed, punching the last man to ensure he wasn't imagining his strength. The last person became a massive stain on the compound's inner wall. The Hokage was taken aback by Naruto's ability to eliminate 3 Junin-level assassins from the chaos that had been left around the area while he was called to inspect it. The Anbu was equally astounded as they mopped up the bloody paints and chunks of flesh strewn about. "What have you been up to, Naruto?" the Hokage inquired, as Naruto smiled broadly. "Training. I'm running around doing sit-ups." "Whatever you've been doing has been working," the Hokage said, nodding before ordering the rest of the Anbu to leave. Hiruzen didn't believe the boy, but there was no reason to make things worse. The villagers had stopped bothering Naruto after learning of his ancestry. Even so, more assassins arrived every day, hoping to kill their adversary's son. Grudges were held dear. Naruto finally learned the terrible truth about his new abilities a month later. He was far too powerful. Every fight was decided by a single punch. The assassins would break in and talk trash before attempting to kill him with weapons. The objective word was tried. Soon after, they became a puddle of blood mixed with torn bodily remains around his home's yard and wall. In the face of danger, there was no adrenaline coursing through his veins. What is the danger? Every fight ended with a single sloppy, half-hearted punch. Trying to stay alive no longer held any appeal. Only the boy's blank expression remained, and the fight was as enjoyable as going to Ramen Ichiraku for a meal. They are still frequent. Naruto yelled at the air in frustration as he looked down at the remains of his latest victims. FUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUU you been, Dobi?" Sasuke asked as Naruto approached the training grounds. Since Kakashi-sensei was always lost on the road of life, or he simply didn't feel like they were ready yet, there was never any proper training. The Cyclops hadn't even taught them how to properly shape their chakra, and Naruto exhaled as he learned more at his compound than he had here. "Went shopping. I'm thinking about having vegetables for dinner tonight," Naruto replied, holding up his plastic bag with one hand. He was eating properly now instead of ramen every day. After all, variety was the spice of life. Are we still pursuing Tora? I wish we had a proper mission by now, Naruto grumbled. We're on the same mission, Naruto, Sakura said. Since reclaiming his heritage with everyone else, the pink head had stopped insulting Naruto, and he had stopped trying to ask her out. However, Sasuke continued to be arrogant towards him, believing Uchiha was the only one worthy of respect. Let's get to it quickly because I'm busy today, Naruto suggested as the trio set out to catch the idiot cat. He'd punch the animal one of these days and it'd vanish forever. We should get a better mission. We've been doing D-rank GG. Naruto exclaimed as he returned the cat. The Hokage observed Naruto and discovered that the once blonde, now a redhead, had changed dramatically in the previous few years. Months. Not only had his body filled out and toned, but he was also more serious. The Anbu were no longer the boy's bodyguards, but rather cleaners, removing all the bloody mess that was discovered in the Namikaze's compound after every failed assassination attempt. Hiruzen had to order them not to say anything about what happened at Naruto's house. The boy appeared to be quickly becoming a legend outside of town, instilling fear in other hidden villages. Assassins came in, and none came out except a body bag dripping in blood. Hiruzen preferred it that way. Alright, I'll give you a C-rank mission, Hiruzen said as the three of them blinked. Even Kakashi, who was reading his Icha Icha book, looked up. The Cyclop was certain that the Hokage would not assign them higher-ranking missions this early, and he had only given them basic training. He did, however, know about Naruto's prowess because he helped clean up the mess with others at times. As a result, the four set out for Wave Country, escorting a bridge builder named Tazuna. Naruto was ecstatic because he expected it to be a challenge in his otherwise boring and mundane life. An assassin emerged from a small water puddle on the roadside right behind Naruto, about to throw a chain at the kid in an attempt to bind him. What exactly did Naruto do? He punched the problem, as he always did. The boy's face was filled with disappointment as the assassin morphed into fine mesh and sprayed outwards. Everyone's features remained frozen as the resulting blood splattered across the dirt and grass, including the second assassin, who had just a second ago held a chain in one hand and was about to throw it. He only blinked once before being transformed into fine mesh. Thuck. I thought this was going to be harder. Naruto yelled angrily. His enthusiasm for the mission vanished in an instant. How? What just happened? Sakura muttered, oblivious to the brief battle that had ended in the blink of an eye. How did the Dobi grow so big? Sasuke thought, his eyes widening at the heinous pool of blood and flesh that had just formed. Before returning to his book, Kakashi simply nodded. With a firm hand on the man's shoulder, he also jolted their charge out of his coma. Naruto, don't hit their face next time. We need it to identify them later, Kakashi suggested as he continued walking towards Wave Country. I hit them in the gut, Kakashi-sensei, but they turned into that even though I wasn't serious at all. It was just one of my clumsy punches, but they still die. Naruto retorted as Kakashi's sweat dropped. Was the boy not serious at all? Nothing noteworthy occurred over the next few days. Sailed up the river to a massive bridge. Why didn't they just walk across the water? Oh, Kakashi hadn't yet taught the other two of his students. They then escorted Tazuna, the bridge builder, back to his home and made friends with the man's family members, all the while Sasuke questioned Naruto's strength. Would you like to know? Naruto inquired, raising an eyebrow. He was sitting with Sakura and Sasuke at a table while Kakashi went to scout the area, leaving the trio to guard the house. Tell me, Dobi, Sasuke said. Do you really want to know? Naruto questioned. He was checking to see if they were interested. Being too strong is a pain if you don't have any good opponents to fight against. Tell us now, Naruto, Sakura begged as Naruto sighed. If you want to be strong, all you have to do is 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100 squats, and a 10 kilometers marathon every single day, rain or shine, sick or tired. It will take a while, but you will feel the effect eventually, Naruto said solemnly before turning to Sakura. Actually, Sakura-chan, you'd look great in red, Naruto concluded, pointing to her. There was a pregnant silence before someone slammed their door. Palm resting on the table, Sasuke was there. He stood up and stormed out of the room. Sakura, on the other hand, didn't even realize Sasuke had left before yelling. No more bullshit. Huh? But that's all I did. Here, check the scroll for yourself, Naruto said, tossing the scroll at Sakura. She unfurled it quickly and gave it one last look before ripping it up with an enraged face. There's no way you could be that strong with that kind of workout. Sakura exclaimed, claiming that she had seen some of the Junin train much harder than that, and that they traveled across the country in haste every day. Naruto simply shrugged and stated that was all he did. When Kakashi barged through the door, their argument was over. Junin, the silver-haired man, had been wounded. What happened? Sakura inquired after placing their teacher on the bed and inspecting his injuries. It wasn't anything serious, but Kakashi needed to rest to regain his energy. The man appeared exhausted, as if he had recently expended a large amount of chakra. A missing nin. Zabuza Momochi, demon of hidden mist, mumbled Kakashi, huffing slightly. He just fought the man, and they managed to wound each other. They would need some time to get back into shape. A missing nin? Is he S rank? Is he strong? Naruto asked, his excitement for the mission returning. Kakashi looked up. The question and nodded before falling asleep. Days passed as Naruto's anxiety increased as he escorted Tazuna to the bridge on a daily basis. In his spare time, he was looking for that missing nin and came across this lovely lady named Haku. She was alone in the woods picking herbs, and Naruto assisted her because he was smitten. His other teammates were working on chakra control exercises. Where is Sharingan Kakashi? A man with a masked face inquired as mist engulfed them and covered the majority of the bridge. Another shinobi with a hunter nin mask stood next to that person. Naruto blinked, checking the posture of the larger man. Are you Zabuza Momochi? Naruto inquired, hoping it was from what he had learned from questioning Kakashi about his opponent. After being irritated to no end by Naruto, the Cyclop eventually gave up the information. Oh, an admirer? I am Zabuza, demon of the hidden mist, one of the 7 swordmen, and I will let you kid go if you hand over that old man, Zabuza said, pointing to Tazuna as Sasuke and Sakura took a defensive stance. At the confirmation, Naruto was sold. Awesome. You're strong. Let's fight. Naruto exclaimed as he dashed forward, ignoring Sakura's yelling and protesting. As Zabuza smirked, he sent out a fist strike, which Zabuza intercepted with a massive broadsword shaped like a giant butcher knife. The weapon was called the Kabikarich. Unfortunately for Zabuza, the moment the kid landed his fist on the side of his blade, he became a chunk of flesh along with shards of metal. The weapon exploded into fragments in an instant, and the shockwave from the small fist collided with his body. His upper torso was gone, and his partner looked on in disbelief as he died. FFFFFUUUUCCKK. Naruto yelled in frustration as his opponent died in another single hit. Sasuke and Sakura were stunned to see Naruto kill the man who had severely injured their teacher in an instant. I told you not to hit them full on, Naruto, because now we can't claim the bounty on his head, Kakashi said as he walked up behind the frozen Sakura and Sasuke. He grabbed their shoulders and squeezed them hard to break them out of their stupor. He then did the same to Tizuna and the other workers who were staring at the bloody puddle that was once Zabuza. I didn't even hit him, I hit his sword. Naruto roared, collapsing on all four. He hoped for a good opponent, but it wasn't to be. Naruto turned to face the second opponent, who had been standing there for a while now, after recovering from his condition along with the rest of the people around him. He waved his hand across the person's face, but there was no reaction. He removed the person's mask. Haku?
Naruto asked, his fingers snapping in her face.
Her. As Naruto moved his ear closer to her lip, he muttered something inaudible. How? What? She asked repeatedly in hushed tones. She seemed to be stuck in a loop. Haku's mind was elsewhere at the time, and the mist slowly dissipated with Zabuza's death. It revealed Gato and his men from the other end once it thinned out enough. The gangster-like group was making their way towards the battleground. I knew Zabuza was useless. Kill her along with the rest, Gato said as his men roared and ran forward. Naruto wasn't paying attention to them and was shaking Haku, trying to shake her out of it. Nonetheless, his efforts were futile. Kakashi was about to rush forward to greet the newcomer when he noticed Naruto standing between them and Haku. I'm going to be serious now. Serious punch. Naruto declared, punching the incoming mob with all his strength. As his fist collided with the airspace ahead of him, a massive shockwave was created, blasting them away. Let's just say Gato and his men's shredded body parts, as well as half of the bridge, were scattered throughout the area. There was some sort of red fog lingering around the bridge's destroyed section, and everyone became statues once more. Tizuna took a vacation with his family after he recovered, which took some time, to get something sorted out in his mind. He also forbade Naruto from being serious on the show. Bridge while it was being built, and the bridge was renamed No Naruto Allowed after it was finished out of fear that the said person would destroy it if he was ever near it. There are a lot of people in the infirmary with the same illness, the medic Nin said after Kakashi and company returned from their successful mission. Naruto also carried Haku because he felt it was his fault she was this way. She was still stunned. Kakashi had to carry Sasuke and Sakura, who were both in shock. They were saying the same thing Haku was saying. You're not hurt, so why are you here? The young and attractive female medic Nin inquired of Kakashi. The Cyclop was resting comfortably in one of the beds set aside for the injured. No, but my mind is. I need someone to talk to, so sit down and listen to my problem. You see, I have this student. Kakashi began his first therapy session, the first of many. He knew thousands of jutsu and had tried, but failed, to kill Zabura. Naruto, on the other hand, knew very little ninjutsu and killed the missing nin with a single punch. Kakashi felt as if everything he had learned up to this point had been for naught. What's wrong with her? Naruto inquired, pointing to Haku after seeing Sakura and Sasuke. They were both in the same condition and would be out for a while. She is in shock, her mind unable to comprehend what has occurred thus far. Unfortunately, she is not a part of it. Konoha Gakure, so we should find her a place to stay, Naruto nodded, even though he didn't understand what the medic Nin was saying. It took a few hours for Haku to stop muttering the same question. She blinked, her senses returning. Haku? Are you in there? Naruto inquired as he leaned in close to her face. Yes, Zabuza-sama, I'm here, Haku said, looking at the blonde. Witnessing her mentor's gruesome death completely destabilized her, and she chose to live in denial instead. When the medic Nin saw the duo's display, he immediately locked Naruto in a girl's hold. "I was so scared, Zabuza-sama, I thought you died and left me," Haku whimpered, tightening her grip. Naruto pointed at her and inquired of the medic Nin as to what had occurred. "She needs psychological help and will recover eventually," the response said, "so just play along for now." "Alright, Haku-chan, calm down, I'm here, I won't leave you, but call me Naruto," Naruto suggested. Haku slowly nodded. "Hi, Z." "Naruto-sama," Haku smiled, wiping away her tears. "Since she's already acquainted with you, you might as well take her. Your place isn't crowded, is it? And I'm sure the Hokage will approve, her being a spoil of war and all," the Hokage says. After that, the easygoing medic Nin suggested, looking down at a piece of paper in his hand. "Eh?" Naruto inquired, wondering if the man was implying anything. XXXXX. Naruto was the only one from his group who attended the first part of the Chunin exam, so it was fairly boring. He took the exam as a one-man team after requesting permission from the Hokage himself. Sasuke and Sakura, his teammates, were still in the hospital, suffering from PTSD, and Kakashi was still recovering. After getting a girlfriend during his therapy sessions with the same medic Nin, the silver-haired sensei decided to enjoy life and stop being a shinobi. She wasn't a therapist, but that didn't seem to matter much. So, instead of reading his Icha collection, Kakashi was walking down the street with a girl who was helping him with his mental problem, from now until death do them part. Many people who knew him found that strange, but they all wished him the best of luck. Instead of dwelling in the past, he finally moved on with his life and walked the path of life. "Congratulations on passing the first test," exclaimed the examiner, Ibiki Morino, after revealing the 10th question. Everyone was nervous that they wouldn't be able to answer it, but they breathed a sigh of relief when Ibiki explained what the 10th question was about. The second part of the exam was a little more exciting because Naruto got to kill things. Unfortunately, after hearing what happened to people who entered his home, everyone avoided him like a plague. Rumors circulated that he enjoyed luring girls in and butchering them in some sick game. That would explain why there was a girl with long black hair there. Many people expressed their desire to rescue the girl, and some did try, but she refused to leave her Naruto-sama, not to mention she was extremely childish, running around the compound and sometimes naked. Naruto gained yet another unfavorable reputation. "Ah. Everyone's avoiding me," muttered Naruto, checking the only scroll he'd been given for the test. He required the other to pass. "Mother wants blood," says the really creepy kid with no distinguishing pupils or brows other than the word love on the left side of his brow. He was dressed in a black full bodysuit with t-shirt-like sleeves and a gourd on his back that appeared to be excreting sands. He was with two other people, possibly teammates. Naruto looked them over and realized they were the Sand siblings from Suna. "Hello?" Naruto asked. "I've heard a lot about you, Naruto Namikaze. Mother wants your blood," the boy said coldly, threatening to kill his siblings if they interfered. They were visibly shaken just by his aura. Sands encircled his body. As if it were alive, it began to spread to Naruto. Naruto does what he always does when something ominous approaches him with the intent of causing him harm. He smacked it. The resulting wind from the fist blew away the sands, revealing the three shocked faces. The older couple blinked, while the youngest slackened his jaw slightly. "What just happened?" the blonde-haired girl inquired, looking for answers from her two brothers. Did the redhead boy in front of them punch Gaara's sands away? That had never been done before. It wasn't going to happen. Gaara's eyes became deadly serious and full of bloodlust after he awoke from his coma. "Shit. Let's get out of here, Conquer. Gaara's going all out," the girl exclaimed as the boy with facial makeup. Air painting joined her. "Wait a minute, Temari." Sands erupted from the ground, swirling menacingly around Gaara once more. It quickly hardened, forming a solid barrier and shield, only to be shattered and blasted away with a single punch at the stunned faces of the onlookers. Gaara tried again and again, but his opponent simply swept the sands away. "Gaara, don't." Conquer and Temari yelled from the sidelines as their younger brother performed a hand seal. Naruto was intrigued by what was about to occur. "False sleep," Gaara exclaimed, closing his eyes and slouching his body. Much more sand gathered around the still boy, wrapping and pushing him up into the air, forming a sandy brown tanuki with black cursed seal markings on its face, body, and tail. It had a jagged, concave mouth and odd eyes. Even if it was something new, Naruto was no longer excited to see it. He didn't want to get his hopes up only to have them dashed. It happened far too frequently. "I'm free," the demon roared from above the treeline, rocking the area with its booming voice. Its life was cut short when its body was blown up into chunks of rock and clumps of sand by a single punch from a boy with a blank expression. Shusaku, the one-tailed beast, was instantly killed, and it would take a year for it to reform. "Get some medic nin down there," the Hokage said, seeing the one-tailed beast from his tower. It was only a few seconds, but it was enough for him to determine who was present. He inhaled a little from his pipe and smiled as he exhaled the fumes. Temari and Kankuro joined Sakura and Sasuke in the infirmary from severe shock and trauma, just as the Hokage predicted. Gaara was discovered later because he was further away, but he was sleeping peacefully because the tail beast that had been sealed within him had died. Naruto discovered the required scroll on their person before the medic nin arrived to assist and take them away. Kukakuku. Interesting, a snake-like person said, sticking out his long tongue. He was sliding along the ground towards Naruto, who was walking leisurely through the dense woods to the final area. Naruto raised an eyebrow at the newcomer. "Who are you? Why is this exam full of strange people?" Naruto asked, dodging to the side to avoid a sword thrust that was aimed at skewering him through the neck. The blade emerged from the man's mouth. While it was creepy, it was also fast, though Naruto was much faster. "You managed to avoid that? I'm impressed. Naruto Namikaze, Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails. My name is Orochimaru, one of the Sennin," the person said as Naruto stood motionless. The boy exhaled slightly because everyone knew he was that, but he had no idea what a Sennin was. "Let's see how strong you are," Orochimaru said, his gaze narrowing. Naruto saw flashes of his death as his heartbeat accelerated. Excitement. Could it be that he was someone who could challenge him? Orochimaru lurched forward, only to have his stomach turn to mush and splatter backwards. The Sennin blinked, astounded by the speed of the kid's punch. Everything below his sternum had been pulverized. Orochimaru opened his mouth wide and regurgitated another person despite the fact that he had no stomach left.
Naruto thought it was pretty awesome.
"Kukakuku, I can't be killed because of gained immortality," Orochimaru declared, making Naruto's heart beat a little faster. It would be a good fight if someone was immortal. Orochimaru was the first person to be hit in the face by one of his punches. "Awesome. I've been waiting for someone like you for so long," roared Naruto, landing another punch at a much faster pace this time. Sennin's body exploded once more, along with everything behind him, and he regurgitated another. However, that one, like the first two, was bitten. One body after another became monotonous quickly, and after a dozen strikes, Naruto lost interest completely. "You are fast and strong, but you can't kill me, Kukakuku," Orochimaru declared. "Join me and I will help you grow stronger." The snake Sennin desired the boy's body. "Stronger? No thanks, it's fucking boring as hell," Naruto said blankly before dispatching the man with one serious strike. Nothing of the body remained as Orochimaru's cell was scattered across the attack-damaged terrain. That wasn't going to bring the snake back to life. Kabuto, who was nearby, was stunned and frozen in place. He'd be there for a while, trying to figure out how his master died. It didn't make sense to him. "Sennin took a while to kill, so I felt a little better," Naruto grumbled as he walked to his destination. He got there quickly enough and was the first one there. Numerous genins stood along the path, stunned by the damage to the Forest of Death and unable to comprehend what had occurred. "You don't need to go through the next round, Naruto. I grant you the title of Chunin without further examination. It's for the best and to prevent any more tragic loss of lives," Hokage said, fearing for the lives of those who would face the boy. The Anbu had examined the bloody mess Naruto had left in the forest and determined it to be Orochimaru, one of the Sennins. "The forest will also need to be replanted." "Really? So I don't have to go through all these tests?" "Sorry, Gigi, but it's kind of boring," Naruto said flatly as the Hokage laughed. XXXXX. "Who are you, and why are you peering into my house?" Naruto inquired as he stood near an elderly man on the outside wall. The man wore his spiky white hair in a ponytail, with two shoulder-length bangs framing both sides of his face. He also had red lines running down his eyes and wore a horned forehead protector emblazoned with the kanji for oil. Naruto doesn't like people wandering around in the street, but this man was peering through a hole in the wall into his compound. It was most likely formed during one of his many brief battles. Naruto couldn't repair his place every time this happened, and at the very least, the assassins were more cautious and hesitant to go in to be killed. "Go away, kid," the man said, waving his hands and shooing the boy away while continuing to peer through the hole. In an instant, Naruto's eyes twitched and he moved closer to the man's ear. "I said why you were peeking into my house," Naruto exclaimed as the man staggered away from the noise. In pain, he rubbed his ear and finally confronted Naruto. "Wow, you look like a mini Minato, except for your mother's red hair," the man said, his ear ringing. "You knew my parents?" Naruto pointed out, "but you didn't answer my question." "I told you, I'm doing research. As for who I am," Jiraiya replied before striking a pose that made Naruto sweat slightly. "I am Mount Myoboku Holy Gamma's Master Sennin, also known as Toad Sennin, remember? And also your godfather, Jiraiya." After the introduction, Naruto's eyes twitched. "Okay, godfather, what brings you here?" "I'm here to help you get stronger." "I heard you passed the preliminary, but the next part will be more difficult," Jiraiya explained. "A little late, I already passed the entire exam, and you're probably not going to be able to teach me anything useful anyway," Naruto said as he walked to the front gate and opened the door to enter the compound. He had no desire to become any stronger. "Hey, don't say that. I can teach you a lot of techniques," Jiraiya exclaimed as he chased the boy into the compound. Haku was walking around the front wearing only an apron that covered her entire front. As the white-haired pervert stared at the girl, she must have been cooking something. "I've finished cleaning and cooking, Naruto-sama," Haku said, kneeling and bowing so that both could see her chest. Naruto rubbed his nose before noticing the pervert beside him. "Why are you here, you pervert? I didn't let you in." "Hey, I'm not a pervert." I'm a superper, Jiraiya started but didn't finish as the boy sent him flying out of the compound with a flick of his finger. Pervert, Naruto murmured as Haku giggled at her master's decision to kick another idiot out of their home. Jiraiya recovered quickly and climbed back over the wall. A second at Naruto's irritation. I don't care, just leave, Naruto yelled, refusing to learn anything that would help him grow stronger. He didn't want to be stronger, for God's sake. Naruto was seated, enjoying his dinner with Haku, who was now cooking the meal for him. Jiraiya trespassed again and barged into the room from the side door, and she was sitting across the table from him. Naruto would have painted the pervert's body all over the place if he was an assassin. However, the pervert was not, and it was wrong to kill the Hokage's acquaintances. Don't be like that, Naruto, Jiraiya said as Naruto raised an eyebrow. Hiruzen-sensei also told me to check the seal on your body to make sure it was still in place. Naruto sighed and lifted his shirt to reveal the black mark on his stomach to the Sennin. Jiraiya examined it and pressed his palm against the seal as the world around them shifted. Naruto and Jiraiya had made their way into the mindscape. Why are we in here? Naruto inquired, his gaze drawn to the white-haired elderly man next to him. He hadn't been in here before, but it appeared to be extremely depressing. He made the decision that this would be his last visit. Actually, I lied. I need to talk to someone, Jiraiya admitted. Hiruzen actually instructed him to examine the biju that was sealed within the boy. The Hokage presumed. Naruto's newfound power came from the fox because there was no logical explanation for Naruto killing all those assassins so easily, let alone one cage-level snake. Naruto shook his head and followed the man down the sewer tunnel into an open area. In the darkness, there was a massive cage with something stirring. It's been a while since I've had a visitor, too, for you to come in here to meet little old me. Naruto narrowed his eyes as the dark voice behind the cage spoke. He noticed the shape in the darkness and frowned. Is this the demon fox who nearly destroyed the village? Naruto asked, as Jiraiya nodded in agreement. You don't remember? You were a babe back then. Come closer, have a closer look, the voice mocked. Naruto moved closer as a claw reached out from beyond, causing Naruto to sidestep and run through the bar and into the cell. Stop. Jiraiya yelled, terrified that Naruto would be hurt.
But it was too late, and his fears were unfounded.
Blood covered the cage and bar as Naruto walked back out through them to the outside with a single fist strike and a loud boom. Jiraiya was taken aback by the feat as the liquid flowed outward along the floor. What? It tried to kill me, and it also tried to kill my father, and I have better things to do than listen to it, Naruto said, waving his hands before both of them were evicted from the house. Mindscape. Naruto was eager to return to his dinner because someone had taken the time to prepare it for him. When Jiraiya returned outside, he was shaking his head and rubbing his temples. The Toad Sage observed the two for a few moments before pulling out his book and trotting down the interaction with a perverted expression. After a while, Naruto took a sidelong glance at the book, making out some of the sentences before hurling Jiraiya out of the compound once more. This time, however, there were a few more fingers in the flick. So it wasn't the fox? Asked the Hokage, sitting beside Sennin in a hospital bed, who was heavily bandaged. After being sent halfway across town and crashing into a bathhouse, he was lucky to be alive. Jiraiya had no regrets as he was tortured by the inhabitant of that place, much to his delight and pleasure. I don't think so. He killed it out of spite, so that's not it. Maybe it's a bloodline? No, I checked, it's normal Uzumaki bloodline, the Hokage said, shaking his head. Anyway, good job, I will send some medic in to heal you up quickly, the elderly man said as he lit his pipe and reinserted it into his mouth. Please bring in a few female ones, and tell them to give me a full massage. My body aches all over and I deserve a compensation, Jiraiya suggested as the Hokage chuckled. Hiruzen was worried about more Naruto-like beings running around, where they could easily kill a Sannin. That kind of power would worry anyone. Unfortunately, whatever gave the boy his power remained a mystery to the professor. The Hokage walked down the hall and noticed that Sasuke had left his bed while Sakura remained, muttering something. What happened to that boy? The Hokage reflected before directing his Anbu to search for the missing Uchiha. I already told you how, but you don't believe me, Naruto said angrily. He let out a long sigh as he watched the raven-haired boy question Naruto's strength. Before the interruption, Naruto was sitting outside with Haku. They were stargazing as nothing seemed to excite him anymore, and he was wondering what to do from now on. Stop making nonsense, Dobi. There's no way you could get that strong with that simple workout, exclaimed Sasuke. Shut up. Have you tried it before? If you haven't, then you have no right to call it bullshit. I did it. 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100 squats, and 10 kilometers marathon every single day, rain or shine, even when I was sick and tired. If you want to be as strong, do it for a few months and see if you feel any different, Naruto said loudly. They have no faith in him. It had the same black-rimmed circular glasses, onyx eyes, and ash-gray hair as the one earlier today. The man remained nearby, listening in on the conversation to see if the red-headed woman was mentioned. Whether the haired boy was lying or not. Sasuke huffed slightly before nodding. He wanted the power to kill his brother, and he was willing to try that strange workout. Naruto returned to stargazing with Haku, trying to make out the constellations, as the Raven Boy left Namikaze's compound. Before long, they went back inside the manor. I'm in a bind, Haku-chan. I wanted to be stronger. Stronger than anyone and make my dad proud. I wanted an epic battle bordering life and death like him when he stood before the demon fox without fear. I want people acknowledge me as a strong shinobi, but now, once I've achieved Ida, it felt so empty, so hollowed. Everything end with one punch. It's so boring. I want excitement, damn it. Naruto said with a heavy sigh. He sat down on a cushion couch. I can't give you a strong opponent, Naruto-sama, but I can give you another form of excitement if you let me, Haku said, her dark brown eyes looking into the blue eyes. Naruto was perplexed for a moment before taking his hand and placing it on her chest. What are you doing? Naruto inquired, feeling a soft bump within the confines of his palm. He couldn't finish his question before she stopped him with a finger perpendicular to his lip. She then took it off and moved her face closer to his. Naruto blushed slightly because she was so adorable up close. As his almost 13-year-old heart raced, she kissed him. A gentle hand slid across his hands and found what it was looking for. Naruto's eyes widened slightly as his private is gently held. As his manhood hardened, it felt hot down there. She quickly unzipped the pant and slid her hand into it like a snake, grabbing firmly while kissing. The meat shaft became harder and thicker after a few strokes. After Haku broke the kiss, Naruto murmured, "This feels strange, but really good."
She smiled and lowered her head, as Naruto could only see her silky black hair from above.
Naruto's eyes widen as he feels it enter somewhere soft, and something flexible twirls around it, running the length of it. Naruto had no idea what was going on, but he liked it a lot, and his heart was racing like it had never before. Don't stop, this is amazing. Yes, I want this. Naruto exclaimed as Haku bobbled her head up and down, taking it all in. After this night, Naruto was no longer a boy. XXXXX. I'm back, roared the sandy brown tanuki as it regenerated back to the world of living. However, before it could turn around to see what was going on around it, its body exploded into bits again after being killed by a single punch. The red-haired boy landed on the ground, brushing the sand from his clothes. Every freaking year, I have to kill it again, but it does give me something to do, Naruto muttered, shaking his head a little. It only took a few seconds, but the last time the one tail destroyed what remained of the forest of death. Gaara was much better off without the creature's taint. His two siblings, on the other hand, were still shaken from the last Chunin exam they had taken. Namikaze-sama, we have found Danzo, he's hiding in a megacure, and Anbu said, emerging from a swirl of leaves. After Hiruzen stepped down as leader, Danzo and his root agents began to cause havoc. Jiraiya was first offered, but the old sage declined because he needed to move around and do his research, so it was given to Tsunade instead. However, the new Hokage was frequently drunk, and Naruto was forced to do the majority of the work with his clones. Nobody could disagree with that. Plus, he was the single most powerful person in town. A megacure. Isn't that where the Teme went? Ah, let him deal with it. I'd rather spend my precious time with my family than running after the old warhawk, Naruto said before leaping off into the distance, leaving shattered earth behind. He landed gently in his compound in a single leap, so as not to disturb the baby's nap time. As he jogged silently to her, Naruto smiled at her. A newborn baby girl slept in her arms, unconcerned about anything. A 2-year-old boy with blonde hair and a few strands of red in it leaned against her for support. As if sensing his father's approach, the boy slowly opened his blue eyes and quickly outstretched his tiny arms to Naruto. Naru. How's your training? Naruto inquired, taking the boy into a fatherly grip and settling down next to his lovely wife. SHSSSHH, Haku murmured, looking down at the baby girl, who squirmed slightly. Naruto chuckled and rubbed a finger over the baby with black hair, yawning slightly. Mina is so cute, Naruto said softly and turned to his son, you're cute too. Thank you, Dad. I'm just tired from doing the daily routine, Naru said quietly, closing his eyes. Don't you have work today? Isn't it important to keep Tsunade-sama out of the gambling den and out of debt? Haku asked calmly. She had regained most of her memory shortly after giving birth to her son. When she remembered what Naruto had done, she became enraged and wanted to kill him for murdering her mentor. She accepted her new life, however, the moment she saw her newborn son in his arms. Her angers and grudges had vanished as she watched the baby gurgle in delight. Haku didn't want to make the same mistake as her parents, who had murdered her mother and left her an orphan. Hesitantly, she accepted it as the bundle of joy wrapped around her arms, and she had never let it go since. Thankfully, Naruto proved to be a good father and husband after they married and she had nowhere to go, and as a result, love blossomed between them and they conceived a second child with her consent, and would have more in the future. I realized a while ago that nothing is more important than my family. Besides, I left dozens of clones there to do the workload and keep Tsunade-sama sober, Naruto said, rocking Naru in his arms. The 2-year-old fell asleep again in his father's warm and gentle embrace. I thought I wanted to be a hero to everyone, loved by everyone, but I think being a hero to my children and their loves is all that matters in the end, just like my father was to me, Naruto said before turning to face his wife. We both suffered as orphans, so let us use the rest of our lives to give our children a brighter future and never allow that to happen to them. The couple kissed, leaning on each other for support as they sat there, immersed in the safety of their own home. XXXXX. What the fuck is he? exclaimed one of the Akatsuki members before transforming into a chunky shower of red parts. One person was smashing through their headquarters like it was the easiest thing to do. "I can't believe the Dobi was right," the teenage boy said as he looked around. He had slaughtered most of Danzo's forces as well as Akatsuki's when he came across them. He was looking for his older brother for some private talking and possible reconciliation, as he had found out who was actually behind the massacre of his whole clan. Kika. A sword let out a sound as a man with shark life featured walked out a door. "Welcome, Saw." He didn't finish before joining the others on the wall and floor, as the boy didn't have time to idle. As a result of the powerful blow, only the man's legs remained. Even one of the Akatsuki's strongest members was killed in a single punch. Nobody could deny their eyes and the evidences smearing all around their base, repainting it without their permission. Kabuto Yakushi snorted as he watched the surveillance camera with his eyes bulging slightly. "To hell with the research and bloodline manipulation at Orochimaru, you were wrong. I need to go back to the drawing board, but why the fuck is he bald though?" Naruto wasn't bald. As he moved through the base, Sasuke rubbed the shining globe on top of his head, turning everything in his path to bloody pulps while keeping an eye out for his brother, Itachi. He had trained for the last 3 years under the workout that Naruto had told him. It didn't seem to change much for the first few months, but he kept doing it anyway. In the 2 years mark, he was much stronger than anyone in the village barring Naruto, but his hair started to fall out. Another year after that, Sasuke lost all of his hair, but gained godlike strength and speed that could pulverize everything he hit. Oh well, Sasuke sacrificed something in order to gain something else. But what did Naruto give up to gain his powers? Maybe that was something for another time.
So that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel for more awesome stories like this. Thank you. See you all in my next video.